The glittering world of British show business often masks a reality filled with profound sorrow. Behind the velvet curtains of West End stages and the bright lights of broadcasting networks, some of our most beloved stars carried an unimaginable burden. From Fleet Street headlines to quiet personal agony, these legends of the silver screen and national television faced the ultimate heartbreak, saying a final goodbye to their own children. How did they find the strength to smile for the cameras while their worlds collapsed? Subscribe and leave a comment as we uncover these poignant stories. Richard Todd. For decades, the name of this distinguished actor symbolized the essence of British heroism on the silver screen. Adored by the public and frequently praised by the traditionally harsh critics of Fleet Street, he genuinely seemed to lead a completely charmed existence. With a commanding presence that easily dominated both West End stages and international cinema, his extensive career was a masterclass in theatrical brilliance. Yet behind the polished exterior of this celebrated leading man, a profound and silent agony was slowly taking root, waiting to consume his later years. The glittering facade of his successful public life stood in stark contrast to the devastating private sorrows that would eventually overshadow his twilight era. Richard was a deeply devoted and proud father, but the cruel hands of fate dealt him not just one, but two unimaginably painful blows. In 1997, his entire world completely shattered when his youngest son Seamus tragically lost his relentless battle with deep internal struggles at the tender age of 20. The sudden and heartbreaking departure of his boy left a permanent, unfillable void in the weary heart of the veteran actor. Grief is an isolating companion, and for someone constantly positioned in the unforgiving public eye, mourning inevitably becomes a complex performance of its own. Despite the immense sorrow weighing heavily on his soul, Richard attempted to maintain his stoic public persona, carrying on with the quiet dignity expected of a true British gentleman. He bravely threw himself back into his creative work, desperately hoping the familiar embrace of the theatre would offer some fleeting solace. But the heavy shadows of such a profound loss lingered far beyond the warmth of the theatrical spotlights. Tragically, the devastating narrative of his familial heartbreak was far from reaching its conclusion. 8 years later, in 2005, the unimaginable happened once again, completely destroying whatever fragile peace he had managed to rebuild. His eldest son, Peter, who had been a vital pillar of support during their previous bereavement, eventually succumbed to the very same crushing despair that had previously claimed his brother. Hearing the news that a second child had passed away in heartbreakingly similar circumstances was a cruel burden, almost too heavy for any mortal soul to endure. The British press treated the unfolding story with a complex mixture of respectful mourning and inevitable curiosity, but Richard remained a resolute picture of quiet endurance. He never allowed the broadcasting networks to fully capture the true depths of his despair, instead retreating gracefully into the quiet solitude of his countryside home. The remarkable man who had brilliantly portrayed so many invincible heroes on camera spent his final years quietly grappling with a tragic reality no parent should ever face, enduring the ultimate sorrow of outliving the sons he so deeply cherished. Shirley Bassey, the unmatched vocal power and captivating stage presence of this legendary Welsh singer made her an absolute powerhouse across international venues and West End stages alike. With a career spanning several golden decades, she delivered some of the most iconic cinematic anthems ever recorded. Yet beneath the glittering gowns and the roaring applause of adoring crowds lay a deeply vulnerable mother whose universe was destined to be shattered by an unfathomable and enduring personal tragedy. Despite the relentless demands of a stratospheric career and the constant intrusion of aggressive Fleet Street reporters, she fiercely protected her private sanctuary. Her vibrant daughter Samantha was the absolute light of her life, bringing immense joy to a woman constantly surrounded by the dizzying heights of fame. As her daughter blossomed into a beautiful young woman of 21, the bond between them grew incredibly strong, offering a protective shield against media scrutiny. But the golden illusion of their peaceful existence was abruptly torn apart in late 1985, bringing a darkness that no amount of stage lighting could dispel. The sudden news that reached the celebrated vocalist was the kind of devastating phone call that every parent dreads. Her beautiful Samantha was discovered to have passed away under incredibly mysterious circumstances near a famous suspension bridge, plunging the entertainer into an abyss of unimaginable mourning. The intense glare of the broadcasting networks immediately descended upon the grieving family, turning their profound personal agony into a deeply public spectacle. While official reports ultimately suggested a tragic and accidental departure, the fiercely devoted mother always carried a heavy intuition that the full truth remained hidden. She valiantly campaigned for a deeper understanding of the events, refusing to accept the simplistic conclusions presented by authorities at the time. Navigating the complex landscape of such immense grief while standing in the unwavering spotlight required an exceptional level of emotional fortitude. The music that had once been her glorious celebration of life slowly transformed into a deeply therapeutic outlet for her overwhelming sorrow. When she eventually returned to the grand theatrical arenas, her voice carried a new profound weight of lived tragedy, resonating with millions who recognized the genuine heartbreak in her performances. Decades have passed since that life-altering loss, but the shadow of her beloved young daughter continues to walk silently alongside the glittering icon. The dazzling diva who conquered the world with her immense talent proved to be equally extraordinary in her remarkable capacity to endure devastating maternal grief. She stands today not just as a monumental pillar of British musical history, but as a quiet testament to the enduring strength of a parent carrying the weight of profound loss. Eric Clapton, revered as a true titan of the global music scene, this phenomenal guitarist commanded the absolute adoration of millions across multiple continents. His masterful fingers could make an instrument weep with raw emotion, earning him a virtually godlike status among the devoted readers of the British music press. Despite surviving a highly publicized history of deep personal struggles, extensively documented by Fleet Street, he eventually seemed to find a tranquil rhythm in his private affairs. Yet the most agonizing chord he would ever be forced to strike was not under the bright lights of a grand arena, but in the suffocating quiet of his own devastated heart. The joyful arrival of his precious little boy Connor in the late summer of 1986 brought an unprecedented sense of profound purpose and pure healing to the weary rock legend. Embracing the gentle responsibilities of fatherhood completely transformed his daily worldview, pulling him away from the destructive temptations that had long shadowed his illustrious artistic journey. The innocent laughter of his beloved child became his most cherished melody, providing a peaceful sanctuary far removed from the chaotic energy of sold-out stadiums and the relentlessly intrusive lenses of the British tabloids. However, the vibrant and hopeful harmony of his newfound happiness was violently silenced in the early spring of 1991 by a completely unimaginable and sudden tragedy. During a temporary stay at an overseas metropolis, a catastrophic and heartbreaking incident unfolded at a towering high-rise residence. In a devastating and fleeting fraction of a second, his precious 4-year-old son lost his life in a fatal accident, leaving the celebrated musician completely paralyzed by a sudden and all-consuming wave of dark, incomprehensible sorrow. As the devastating news rapidly circulated across major international broadcasting networks, the entire entertainment industry paused in collective shock and profound sympathy for their legendary peer. For the grieving artist, the brutal finality of this sudden departure presented a terrifying emotional crossroads that deeply threatened to unravel his years of hard-fought sobriety. The crushing silence that suddenly replaced the joyful noise of his young son was an agonizing daily burden, and many genuinely feared the iconic performer might disappear forever into the abyss of endless mourning. Defying the heavy expectations of total despair, he courageously chose to channel his raw and unbearable agony directly into his unparalleled creative genius. He crafted a universally acclaimed and deeply moving acoustic masterpiece dedicated entirely to his departed boy, allowing his profound grief to flow gracefully through every single note. By bravely sharing his vulnerable journey of healing with the wider world, he not only honored the brief but beautiful memory of his son, but also offered a powerful beacon of emotional resonance for countless parents navigating unimaginable loss. Vanessa Redgrave. As the reigning matriarch of a legendary acting dynasty, this formidable talent has spent decades illuminating both the silver screen and prestigious West End stages. Her commanding performances made her a deeply respected figure among the demanding critics of Fleet Street. She lived a life entirely immersed in the rich traditions of British theatre, raising her offspring to passionately embrace the very same artistic calling. Yet even the most celebrated theatrical royalty remains entirely vulnerable to the harsh and unpredictable scripts authored by fate. Her eldest daughter, Natasha, naturally inherited the family brilliance, quickly establishing herself as a radiant leading lady in her own right. The profound bond between mother and daughter transcended usual familial ties, evolving into a beautiful professional kinship that deeply captivated the British tabloids. They shared an unspoken understanding of the immense pressures associated with the limelight, constantly supporting each other through the unpredictable highs and lows. Watching her child blossom into a celebrated artist brought the veteran actress immeasurable maternal pride. However, the magnificent tapestry of their shared theatrical journey was brutally torn apart during the early months of 2009. While enjoying a seemingly peaceful winter holiday overseas, her beloved daughter suffered a sudden and tragic fall on the snowy slopes. Initially appearing as a minor mishap, the situation rapidly escalated into a catastrophic medical emergency that sent immediate shockwaves across major broadcasting networks. The devastating internal injury abruptly halted the life of the vibrant 45-year-old, leaving her family shattered. The agonizing days that immediately followed this sudden tragedy were conducted under the relentless and suffocating gaze of the international press. Despite the heavy weight of unimaginable sorrow, this pillar of British cinema displayed a superhuman level of dignified composure as she bid a heartbreaking final farewell to her precious firstborn. Losing a child at the absolute peak of their brilliant life and career is a profound psychological trauma that completely redefines the very meaning of existence for the parent left behind in the silent shadows. Navigating the hollow landscape of immense grief, she eventually found a fragile sanctuary by returning to the demanding embrace of her beloved theatrical craft. The grand stage offered a temporary refuge from the deafening silence of her profound personal loss, allowing her to channel her quiet agony into breathtakingly poignant dramatic performances. Though she continues to command immense respect across the global entertainment landscape, the radiant smile she presents to the world conceals a permanent maternal heartache. She forever carries the enduring memory of her fallen star with an elegant and quiet grace. Gloria Hunniford. Renowned for her incredibly warm presence and exceptional interviewing skills, this celebrated television and radio broadcaster became a reassuringly familiar fixture in living rooms across the entire nation. Navigating the highly competitive corridors of major broadcasting networks with remarkable grace, she built a remarkably enduring career that earned her the deep affection of the British public. Yet the bright and cheerful demeanor she flawlessly projected on the screen concealed a profound personal nightmare that would ultimately redefine her entire existence. Her beautiful daughter Karen naturally followed in her illustrious footsteps, seamlessly transitioning into a deeply beloved television presenter in her own right. The remarkable professional parallel between the two women forged an exceptionally tight bond that was frequently admired by the seasoned journalists of Fleet Street. They were widely considered a formidable and radiant broadcasting dynasty, sharing a mutual understanding of the immense pressures associated with maintaining a high-profile career under the watchful eyes of the British tabloids. The glittering trajectory of their shared success was tragically interrupted when her precious daughter was confronted with a devastating and relentless health diagnosis in the late 1990s. Fiercely protective of her family sanctuary, the young presenter bravely chose to fight her profound physical struggles far away from the intrusive lenses of the public arena. The devoted mother stood as an unwavering pillar of absolute strength, constantly supporting her child through the grueling years of medical treatments while maintaining a composed facade for the television cameras. Despite displaying unimaginable courage and a fierce determination to overcome her condition, the vibrant 41-year-old ultimately lost her valiant battle in the early spring of 2004. The heartbreaking departure of such a radiant and universally adored talent sent profound shockwaves through the entire television industry, leaving her mother completely shattered by a level of grief that no parent should ever be forced to endure. The overwhelming sorrow of planning a final farewell for her own child plunged the veteran broadcaster into a period of deep darkness. Navigating the hollow and silent aftermath of such a monumental loss required a superhuman reserve of emotional fortitude from the grieving television star. Refusing to let her immense agony remain a purely destructive force, she channeled her overwhelming grief into establishing a prominent charitable foundation dedicated to supporting others facing similar health crises. Through this tireless and noble advocacy, she ensured that the bright legacy of her beloved daughter would continue to shine brilliantly, proving that even the most devastating maternal heartbreak can be transformed into a powerful force for collective healing. Cilla Black, rising from the vibrant music clubs of the northern port city to become the undisputed queen of Saturday night entertainment, this vivacious presenter captured the hearts of millions. With her infectious laugh and unmistakable voice, she dominated the major broadcasting networks for decades. The seasoned columnists of Fleet Street adored her approachable charm, transforming her into a genuine national treasure. Yet beneath the radiant television persona beat a heart permanently scarred by a silent and devastating early trauma. At the absolute zenith of her flourishing entertainment career during the middle of the 1970s, she was excitedly preparing to welcome a precious new life into her growing family. The highly anticipated arrival of a little girl was meant to be the ultimate crowning achievement for a woman who seemed to possess absolutely everything. The British tabloids closely followed her journey, eagerly anticipating the joyful announcement from the beloved television host. However, fate had prepared an incredibly cruel and entirely different script for the expectant mother. The immense joy of expecting a baby daughter was violently shattered when severe medical complications forced an extremely premature delivery. In the late autumn of 1975, she gave birth to her fragile little girl, whom she lovingly named Ellen. Tragically, the tiny infant arrived far too early into the world and possessed severely underdeveloped lungs, making it impossible for her to remain on this earth. The heartbreaking departure of the newborn occurred a mere 2 hours after her arrival, leaving the devastated star completely inconsolable and engulfed in an ocean of unimaginable sorrow. The agony of leaving the maternity ward with completely empty arms is a profound psychological torture that no parent should ever be forced to endure. At a time when society rarely discussed the immense emotional toll of losing a fragile infant, she was forced to navigate her profound grief in deep and agonizing isolation. The aggressive lenses of the press waited outside, desperately seeking a glimpse of the shattered entertainer. To protect her fragile state of mind, she retreated entirely from the flashing cameras, locking herself away to mourn the beautiful future that was so abruptly stolen. Carrying the silent and heavy weight of this monumental tragedy, she eventually made a remarkably courageous return to the demanding spotlight of the national television studios. She continued to project her signature warmth and boundless energy, bringing genuine joy to countless households across the nation, while quietly bearing an absolutely unhealable maternal wound. The deeply painful memory of those fleeting 2 hours with her beloved little girl remained a fiercely guarded private sorrow. She conclusively proved that even the brightest stars of the entertainment universe can hide the most profound and devastating personal shadows behind their glittering public smiles. William Roach, holding an unparalleled record as the longest-serving actor in a continuous dramatic television role, this distinguished gentleman became the absolute cornerstone of British evening viewing. For over 6 decades, his reassuring presence graced the independent broadcasting networks, establishing him as a universally recognized television patriarch. The critics of Fleet Street praised his remarkable dedication to his craft. However, the comforting stability of his fictional on-screen existence stood in stark contrast to the unimaginable personal tragedies that repeatedly shattered his private world. The first devastating blow to his family sanctuary arrived during the late autumn of 1983, leaving a permanent scar on his soul. He was the immensely proud father of a beautiful little girl named Edwina, who brought boundless joy to his bustling household. Tragically, this innocent and blissful chapter was abruptly cut short when the fragile toddler contracted a severe and sudden respiratory ailment. The precious child passed away at the tender age of just 18 months, plunging the beloved actor into a suffocating abyss of profound parental despair. Enduring the sudden departure of a tiny infant is a profound psychological trauma that completely alters a person's perspective on existence. Navigating this unimaginable sorrow under the intense and unwavering scrutiny of the British tabloids required a superhuman level of emotional resilience. He bravely sought refuge in the familiar routine of his demanding television schedules, using the structured environment of the studio as a temporary shield against the darkness. Millions of devoted viewers tuned in regularly, remaining unaware of the profound agony hidden behind his performances. For decades, he carried the silent weight of his lost little girl while watching his other offspring grow and flourish. But fate had prepared another incredibly cruel script for the veteran actor, proving that the passage of time offers no absolute protection against repeated heartbreak. In the early spring of 2018, he was forced to face the ultimate parental nightmare for a second time. His eldest daughter, Vanya, tragically lost her own sudden battle with a severe internal condition, departing this world at the age of 50. To bury a tiny child is an unfathomable tragedy, but to face the loss of an adult daughter decades later is a completely devastating destruction of the natural order. The broadcasting networks respectfully reported this second monumental loss, acknowledging the immense burden placed upon the shoulders of the television veteran. Refusing to let bitterness consume his twilight years, he leaned heavily on his deep spiritual beliefs to navigate the complex landscape of double bereavement. His remarkable journey stands as a powerful testament to the enduring strength of a heartbroken father. Bob Geldof, renowned globally as a passionate musician and a tireless crusader for humanitarian causes, this towering figure commanded immense respect. From conquering massive stadium stages to organizing unprecedented global charity broadcasts across major broadcasting networks, he proved that art could change the world. The writers of Fleet Street praised his relentless dedication to helping others. Yet the man who dedicated his life to saving millions was ultimately powerless to prevent a devastating tragedy from striking the very heart of his family's sanctuary. His incredibly charismatic daughter grew up entirely under the blinding glare of the media spotlight, naturally absorbing the intense energy of the British entertainment industry. She rapidly carved out her own unique path, becoming a prominent television presenter and a highly sought-after voice within the fashion world. The British tabloids were endlessly fascinated by her vibrant lifestyle, documenting her swift transition into a devoted young mother. To her fiercely protective father, she was a beautiful soul who carried a remarkable creative spark, mirroring his own artistic intensity. However, the glittering illusion of her glamorous existence concealed a profoundly hidden vulnerability that was silently threatening her future. In the early spring of 2014, the nation was plunged into absolute shock when devastating news broke across independent broadcasting networks. His beloved daughter was found to have passed away suddenly at her countryside residence at the tender age of 25. This heartbreaking departure echoed a deeply sorrowful family history, forcing the legendary musician to confront a dark agony that shattered his world. The immediate aftermath of this catastrophic loss unfolded under the relentless and microscopic scrutiny of the international press. Coping with the sudden absence of such a radiant and deeply cherished young woman plunged the veteran campaigner into an unfathomable abyss of personal despair. He bravely admitted that the crushing weight of his mourning frequently left him struggling to simply breathe, feeling entirely suffocated by the deafening silence she left behind. The cruel irony of a man who orchestrated global salvation being unable to rescue his precious child was profoundly heartbreaking. Navigating this permanent void required a monumental reserve of emotional fortitude from the grieving father. Refusing to surrender completely to the surrounding darkness, he eventually found a fragile mechanism for survival by returning to his musical roots and his enduring charitable commitments. He continues to perform on legendary stages, carrying the beautiful memory of his fallen girl within every single chord he strikes. His painful journey remains a powerful testament that even the most formidable figures are vulnerable to the harsh storms of profound human sorrow. Terry Wogan. Possessing the most soothing voice on the national airwaves, this legendary presenter became the ultimate comforting presence for millions of dedicated listeners. His gentle Irish charm and razor-sharp wit made him a towering pillar of the major broadcasting networks for over 5 decades. The often cynical critics of Fleet Street universally adored his effortless ability to make every single audience member feel like a cherished personal friend. Yet the man who brought so much gentle laughter to the morning commute carried a profoundly deep and incredibly quiet personal sorrow. Long before he achieved his phenomenal status as a highly decorated television institution, he was simply a young husband eagerly embarking on the beautiful and terrifying journey of starting a family. During the middle of the 1960s, his promising career was just beginning to gather serious momentum across the national stations. The thrilling news of an impending arrival brought absolute elation to his humble household, presenting a glorious future filled with endless promise. He was entirely ready to embrace the joyous responsibilities of becoming a devoted father. The immense anticipation beautifully culminated in the arrival of his precious firstborn daughter, whom the young couple lovingly named Vanessa. However, the overwhelming joy of the maternity ward was almost immediately overshadowed by a devastating and extremely urgent medical discovery. The tiny infant had entered the world with a severe and highly complex cardiac condition that left her desperately fighting for her fragile existence. Tragically, despite the absolute best efforts of medical professionals, the beautiful little girl passed away at the tender age of just 3 weeks. To suffer the heartbreaking departure of a firstborn child is an unimaginably cruel introduction to the harsh realities of early parenthood. Operating in a deeply stoic era where emotional vulnerability was rarely discussed publicly, the grieving young broadcaster was forced to swallow his monumental agony. He bravely returned behind the studio microphone, broadcasting cheerful melodies and warm banter to a completely unaware nation. The aggressive reporters of the British tabloids were kept entirely at bay as he fiercely protected his weeping wife and their shattered domestic sanctuary. Throughout his incredibly illustrious and highly decorated professional career, the beloved radio host rarely spoke of the devastating loss that had so deeply marked his early adulthood. Only in his twilight years did he gently reveal the permanent scar left by the sudden departure of his tiny girl, acknowledging that such a profound parental wound simply never fully heals. The remarkable broadcaster who comforted a whole nation through numerous crises proved his own immense emotional resilience, silently carrying the precious memory of his first daughter behind his famous and ever-present smile. Mary Berry, regarded as the undisputed queen of British culinary television, this impeccably elegant presenter has spent decades teaching the entire nation how to bake. Her gentle authority and reassuring warmth transformed her into a highly treasured maternal figure across major broadcasting networks. The notoriously difficult critics of Fleet Street consistently praised her flawless recipes and delightfully engaging screen presence. Yet the comforting aroma of her bustling kitchen and the sweetness of her monumental success completely mask a profoundly bitter personal tragedy that forever altered the course of her private existence. Balancing the intense demands of her rapidly expanding culinary empire with the beautiful responsibilities of motherhood, she fiercely protected her domestic sanctuary. Her lively family home was a place of endless joy, and her energetic son William was a particularly bright light within their tight-knit unit. As a vibrant university student of 19, he possessed an incredibly promising future and a remarkably close bond with his devoted mother. The British tabloids rarely glimpsed this quiet rural happiness, as the celebrated author deliberately kept her precious children far away from the glaring lenses of the national press. However, the idyllic tranquility of their countryside life was abruptly and violently shattered during a seemingly ordinary weekend in the early spring of 1989. The young student had returned home for a brief visit and borrowed a family vehicle for a short local journey. Tragically, he never reached his intended destination. He was involved in a catastrophic and fatal motoring incident on a quiet rural road. The devastating knock at the door from local authorities brought the kind of sudden news that instantly plunges any loving parent into a suffocating nightmare of entirely incomprehensible sorrow. The agonizing journey to the local medical facility to bid a final heartbreaking farewell to her beautiful boy remains the darkest chapter of her remarkably long life. Enduring the sudden and unexpected departure of a healthy 19-year-old child creates a permanent and devastating void that no amount of time can ever completely fill. Operating under the respectful but constant gaze of the media, the grieving mother displayed an astonishing level of quiet dignity. She bravely held her shattered family together, refusing to let the crushing weight of their collective mourning entirely destroy their shared future. Navigating the hollow landscape of immense bereavement, she eventually found a fragile measure of solace by returning to the familiar and structured environment of her beloved kitchen. The methodical process of baking became a deeply therapeutic sanctuary, allowing her to process her silent agony away from the television cameras. Decades after that fateful day, the legendary broadcaster still wears a remarkably brave smile, but she frequently acknowledges that a crucial piece of her heart vanished forever. Her remarkable resilience stands as a beautiful and enduring tribute to the precious son she lost far too soon.